drummers, and welcome to Tim Connolly Drums. Today we are going to talk about one of my favorite drummers, Ringo Starr. Now, a lot of you guys put comments on my channel bashing Ringo, and I'm here to educate you and tell you you're wrong. And if you really listen to what I'm saying, plus I have a few video guests that I'm going to show in this video talking about Ringo as well, that Ringo's contribution to the Beatles is absolutely legendary and incredible. Nobody else, I don't care what anybody says, nobody else could do what Ringo did on those songs. Now, for those people out there that are Ringo bashers, the first thing I'm going to say is what my friend Todd Zuckerman said from the band Styx.
And it drives me insane when I hear someone disrespect Ringo Starr, who's clearly awesome. And if you don't think so, I'm going to tell you why he's awesome. And if someone comes up to me and disrespects Ringo, instead of punching him in the throat, which is really what I want to do, I'll say, well, tell you what, why don't you come up with perfect, absolutely perfect drum parts to 300 songs in a 7-year period, and then come talk to me, because chances are you're not going to be able to do that.
So if you listen to what Todd said, you try playing on 300 songs, play the exactly perfect drum part, nail it down, and put it out to the world the way that Ringo did. Nobody could have captured the feel, the groove, the dynamics, the shuffles, the swinging feel that Ringo had. Nobody else could do that. Ringo was a master of time and feel. Now, as Jim Keltner would say,
he's a song drummer. Guys that sit down and they hear the song and then they play appropriately for that song.
Yes, Ringo is a groove drummer and a song drummer. He's not the kind of guy that's going to come up there and play some crazy, 9/8 drum solo over top of a metrically modulated phrase. He's not a jazz fusion drummer. He's a song drummer, and a brilliant one at that.
If we had a fusionaire guy playing on the Beatles songs, it would have wrecked the music. They wouldn't have been what they are. So it has nothing to do with the amount of notes or the rapidness and the speed of the notes. The music just works. You can't argue with it.
No fusion-esque type of guy would come in and play what Ringo played. They would ruin the songs, quite honestly. Nobody could do what Ringo did on those songs. His parts were absolutely perfect. Now, let's talk about a few songs that I believe Ringo's drumming was absolutely brilliant. In the early days, Drive My Car has some really awesome, simple but syncopated 8th note drum fills that are just brilliant. But you can do something in between. Another tune with some brilliant drumming in the early days is that driving groove on I Saw Her Standing There.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just driving. Fantastic. Another one is I Feel Fine, where he implements a rock mambo into the groove, and it just sounded so terrific. Baby's good to me, she's... Another one off Revolver is Tomorrow Never Knows. Unbelievable drum groove, way ahead of its time. Nobody was playing these kind of beats. Turn off your mind, relax and float down. Another one of my absolute favorite drum grooves Ringo played on was Day Tripper. That sextuplet drum fill that he plays in that is phenomenal. I also love the fills in She Loves You, where he's playing on the floor tom. He was the first drummer to ride the floor tom. He was influenced by what he heard from, previous drummers, Gene Krupa and whatnot. But he was the first rock drummer to really ride the floor tom the way that he did. So Ringo was inspired by other drummers, but he still made up his own parts. That's another thing. Try making up your own individual, unique drum parts to over 300 songs and making them all sound great like Ringo. You could not do it. And anyone that's arrogant enough to think that they could needs to give their head a shake, because I can tell you right now, nobody could do what Ringo did in all of those songs. Now, another thing about Ringo is how he inspired me and millions of other drummers to play. When Ringo was featured, the Beatles were featured on the Ed Sullivan Show, February 9th, 1964, it changed the music industry. Imagine one performance completely revolutionizing the entertainment industry. And Ringo, he was part of that change because he influenced drummers. Do you know how many kids went out and bought a drum kit after seeing Ringo perform on the Ed Sullivan Show? Also, all the drummers at the time were playing traditional grip. Ringo was a match grip player. Next thing you know, kids are switching over to match grip because they want to play like Ringo. Another thing is, after the Ed Sullivan Show, there was obviously, Beatlemania and whatnot. People were going crazy over the Beatles music. And when A Hard Day's Night, the movie came out, the Beatles did an actual movie. And if you haven't seen A Hard Day's Night, check it out. Ringo is awesome in that movie as well. Now, I think that one of the reasons people bash Ringo is that they think he's not fancy. He doesn't play a lot of fills. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Well, he plays what's needed for the songs. That's the bottom line.
Ringo wasn't a showboater. He didn't maybe it wasn't the fanciest thing, but he held the beat, and
he played what's supposed to be played in the song.
Extremely musical.
Drummers forget that they're playing a song sometimes.
You think that drummers sometimes have to show off the drum as opposed to supporting the song?
Yeah, I think it's probably because we're hiding behind the cymbals, and we can't, we don't get to wag our dongs in everyone's faces.
Yeah.
He's a song drummer. He plays what is needed for the song. My favorite song of all time, not just a Beatles song, but my absolute favorite song of all time is In My Life. That groove that Ringo plays is the first time a linear groove was ever really played.
Grooves like In My Life, out of all the linear drumming things that exist in the world, that
There are places I remember.
is the most successful linear drum part of all time.
It's only one hi-hat in the bar, but oh my God, what a perfect groove. Everything that he played in that song, to me, is absolutely perfect drumming. Perfect. Doom, gat, gat, doom, doom, gat, doom, gat, doom, doom, gat, doom, gat, doom, doom. Absolutely brilliant, perfect drumming. What more can you ask more from a drummer than to perfect and play the perfect groove? Ringo was that guy.
Listen to She Said, off the Revolver record.
She said, I know what it's like to be.
You try playing those fills like that. Yeah, it's not brain-melting difficult, but it's the feel, it's the intent, it's the vibe that was happening, how it works with the music. That's what makes it great. That's what makes it spectacular.
Now, I'm not here to convince you to love Ringo. What I'm trying to do here today is to educate you so that you can stop bashing Ringo and start listening to what he actually brought to the table. I want you to check out some Rubber Soul, You Won't See Me. Some of the drumming on that song is absolutely brilliant.
When I call you up, your line's engaged.
Also, the infamous Ringo Shuffle. I used to play in a Beatles tribute band, and I can remember playing the song Help. And it wasn't until, and you'll discover this too, if you play in a tribute band and you have to duplicate exactly what a drummer is playing, it's not until you have to play it that you realize, holy shit, this is a lot harder than I thought. Help is the absolute epitome of the Ringo shuffle. Is he playing straight eights? Is he playing a shuffle? What the heck is he doing in this groove? Well, it's the Ringo shuffle.
When I was younger, so much younger than today.
It's not straight eights. It's not a pure shuffle. It's in the middle. It's the Ringo shuffle. So, again, you drummers out there, if you want to hear a pure Ringo shuffle, listen to What Goes On or Act Naturally.
You are tearing me apart. When you they're gonna make a big start out of me.
What Goes On was on Rubber Soul. Act Naturally, not sure exactly what album that was on, but check those two songs out. Beautiful shuffle. Another one is I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. That's another legendary Ringo shuffle tune. You listen to these songs, try to play them exactly like Ringo and duplicate without slowing down or speeding up. It's going to be slowing down. You're not going to be able to speed up. What Goes On, that shuffle is so fast. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, that shuffle is so fast, you will not be able to speed up. I can say that because I played these songs and they're really hard to play. Plus he sang them when they did them live as well. So the man was a musical genius in a groove and song way. So I'm just trying to educate you to understand how great Ringo was. Now I want to play a video here of Trey Cool talking about Ringo.
The greatest drummer that ever lived, besides yourself, Trey? Who is the greatest drummer that ever lived?
I mean, I'm going to piss off a lot of people when I say Ringo Starr, just because I adore him.
Now I want to play a video of what some of the world's greatest drummers think about Ringo.
Define the best drummer in the world. Is it someone that's technically proficient, or is it someone that sits in the song with their own feel? Ringo was the king of feel. And just, I mean, honestly, if you're a drummer and you can do this and have people dancing, you're a fucking badass.
Now I want to tell you about my drum teacher, Dom Famulero, how he was so heavily influenced. He started a band with his brothers and a family band because of watching the Beatles. Again, on that infamous February 9th Ed Sullivan show, Dom started a band and it was influenced by seeing Ringo. Now imagine if Dom had not been influenced by Ringo. We would have missed out on one of the true drumming geniuses of all time, which is Dom Famulero. He would not necessarily have played drums had he not been inspired by Ringo. Now, let's take that a step further. Greg Bissonette, Vinnie Colaiuta, I can name a million drummers. Trey Cool, Chad Smith, all the guys that you saw in that video earlier. I can name a million drummers that started drumming because of Ringo and Ringo's greatness. And it wasn't just literally his drumming. It was also what he brought to the table with a lot of the percussion. The Beatles played a ton of percussion on their recordings as well, and Ringo played the majority of that percussion. So, I get angry, I have to admit, when I read the comments and or people talking to me that really don't know anything about music, they don't understand drumming. And Ringo wasn't that great, Ringo was this, Ringo was that. No, I am going to tell you categorically, I wouldn't be here in front of this camera right now if it wasn't for Ringo, to be totally honest, because he's inspired so many people musically, so many people on the drums, and I'm just here to educate you and let you know give Ringo another chance. Go and listen to some of the songs I mentioned, plus a ton of other songs. I'm only scratching the top of the surface here. Go and listen to the Beatles catalog and listen to how great Ringo was. I'm going to talk about my friend Mike Rittenhouse. Went to music school with Mike. I ran into Mike at a Beatles festival. My band was the featured band. I used to play in a top Canadian Beatles tribute band.
Lady Madonna, children at your feet, wonder how you manage.
And Mike was there, and his band was duplicating the White Album. Mike said it was one of the most difficult tasks as a drummer, and Mike was a fantastic, great, one of the top drummers in Canada. Mike, he's a fantastic drummer. And Mike had to duplicate the White Album. He thought it would be easy because he wasn't really a huge fan of the Beatles, and he didn't understand what he was up against. When he started to go through the White Album and learn those songs one at a time, he was just blown away by how great the drumming was on those songs on the White Album. Like I said, it's not always blistering singles. It's not always blast beats and craziness. It's playing to the song, playing the right thing, playing tastefully, playing the right fills, and doing everything that uplifts the song, makes this band sound better, and makes the singers relax because the time's not shifting. Ringo was a brilliant timekeeper, master timekeeper. People talk about my other hero, Neil Peart, as being a master timekeeper. But if you ask Neil, who's the greatest timekeeper of all time, he would tell you Ringo. So all the greats have been influenced by Ringo. There's no denying that Ringo is and will always be one of the greatest drummers of all time. And well, like I was just telling you about my friend Mike, Mike pulled it off. He did a great job. I watched the performance. He did a fantastic job. But when he was done and came off that stage, he was just exhausted playing all the songs off the White Album, two-sided album, playing all those songs. And he couldn't memorize everything. He had to chart a lot, and he read a lot of it down. But man, oh man, I just couldn't imagine how difficult that would be, because that would truly be a challenge for any drummer. At any level, that would be a very big challenge. All right, in conclusion, as I said earlier, I'd like you to revisit the Beatles catalog, listen to Ringo. There's also some isolated videos I came across. I'm not featuring him in this video, but I found some isolated drum parts of Ringo. Check those out too. They're not the greatest quality because you got to remember that it's not off the actual song. It's somehow recorded and it's slightly distorted in some parts, and they're not the greatest recordings, but you can still hear some of Ringo's legendary beats. And the way that Ringo used to swing on the hats in the early days, he sort of stopped doing that around 1966 when you watch him play in the studio, he's not doing that swinging thing, he's playing much straighter. But in the early days, that legendary windshield wiping, broom sweeping technique he used to use on the hi-hats. I can remember when I played in the Beatles tribute and trying to duplicate what Ringo did. It took me a long time to get that feel because it was a natural feel for Ringo. It's just what he did. But listen to the way the hats shimmer and how they swing on those early songs. All My Loving, for example. Beautiful hat shimmer on that. Just beautiful. And again, it's that Ringo swing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, thank you very much for watching today. And I've got a bunch of new subscribers, and I want to thank all you guys. And I want to also thank people that have been buying a little bit of my merch. Much, much appreciated. And as always, keep listening to the Beatles and keep drumming. See ya.